discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say.
Yes, indeed. B.Woods on the Mic podcast. We got a legend. This man is one of the biggest names in radio history, slow jamming, Cadillac music, breaking some of the biggest artists in the history of music and transition the radio game. My man, the homie, the big homie, Kevin, slow jamming, James, and Duke.
Wow, that was the best intro I've ever had. See in the camera, but this is my boy Junior. He's not in the picture, but he will be.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I just had Diana Steele on the podcast. She had her dog too, so it's all good. So you know, we love the dogs over here. Shout out to Snoop Dogg because Snoop is your homie too.
Yeah. So Diana Steele, one of my favorite people of all time.
Mm-hmm.
There's
You see it?
I see her. Yeah.
Yeah. So Diana, when I was at the Beat, was one of my all-time favorite people. And I don't like to pick out favorites because I got along with everybody, right?
Right.
But Diana especially, in fact, when she would go on vacation, she requested that I come in there and do my show, which at the time was called The Love Affair. I don't know why I called it.
Yeah, definitely.
Slow jam. But anyway, she's one of the best. The other favorite of mine from the Beat was Theo.
Theo.
Yeah.
And what because Theo is missing in action. We've been trying to look for Theo. What first of all, like we're gonna get back to like the beginning of your journey and what was your relationship with Theo at the station? Because I would never see you guys together because you had different day parts.
That's because we were the same person.
Almost the same voice.
That's why you never could see us together because Theo came from San Francisco and he did all nights in the beginning. Then got to be the afternoon drive guy.
Right.
And just kind of a weird scenario at the Beat. You know, he and I got along really, really great. And other than the engineer who passed away, rest in peace, Terry Grieger, that was his man. But we go along really well. And in fact, just a quick little story. Venice Beach. And it was Theo to comfort, console me. And I was like his biggest supporter. I mean, there were so many talks that we had because there was backlash, you know, whether it was his ethnicity or whatever, you know, it was just crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. But man, I remember one time at a Christmas party, I just went up to him. I said, Theo, whatever these people are saying, just let it fly by. I said, and he was just getting started on afternoons, and it was a show that people didn't really understand. I said, I'll be honest with you, Theo, I didn't get it. But after about a week, I got it. I said, don't change a thing. You just be you. And, you know, kind of like the rest is history. And yeah, I'm not sure he got along with that many people at the Beat, but still one of my favorite people of all time.
Yeah, Theo, he had like a different relationship with a lot of people, but at the end of the day, his mark in history is just, it's insane. And your mark in history is insane also. And that was the biggest thing. That's why I wanted to get you, the legend, Kevin Slow Jammin' James, to give you your flowers, just to kind of be able to tell your story from your words. Because it's so important to the business, it's so important to the culture, and you've done so many different things. And where did your journey begin, and how did you get into radio and develop this incredible voice for slow jams and R&B?
let's go back.
Let's
Way
go back, baby.
Way back into time.
Yes, indeed.
I worked at WKYS in Washington, D.C., a couple little stations before that, but that was my kind of my launching pad. My program director eventually was Donnie Simpson, and he and I stay in touch to this day. Great guy. And I had a weekend show, but it wasn't called anything. Then he came up to me, he said, let's name your show. So he said, give me 10 names. So I made a list. Next day he came into the studio. So we picked out Slow Jam. The Slow Jams. Then he said, let's call it Slow Jam. So that was the origin of Slow Jam, 1983.
And so there was no Slow Jam before that. This was the first ever Slow Jam title.
Because until Midnight Star came out with the song Slow Jam on No Parking on the Dance Floor, Slow Jam was not in use. It was not part of the vernacular in radio. It was just ballads, slow songs. But the name Slow Jam, or the characterization of music called a slow jam, was really from that song. And still people didn't call it Slow Jam until I came up with the name Slow Jam. Started calling my show the Slow Jam.
And that's how you originated your not just the title of the show, but your actual on-air name also.
Exactly. When I came up with the name Slow Jam, I went, Kevin, it just came off the top of my head. Slow Jam and James.
And did you always want to do, like, how did you get into radio in the first place? Like, even before you became Kevin Slow Jam and James, what were you doing before you were doing radio?
I was in the Army, and when I got out of the Army, I had to think of what I would like to do. I wanted to do sports. I wanted to do sports play-by-play. Sports is still a major part of my life. Sports and music. So I started to get into radio, and it became a beginning as a DJ. And I never got to do sports because this radio thing kind of hung with me. So WKYS, Washington, D.C., many years, but I left WKYS because I was weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and I was making like $25,000 a year. I go, that's not going to make it.
Right.
So I was working with a voice coach, Maurice Tobias, and to do voiceover. And I decided to come to LA. She said, you should be doing voiceover in Los Angeles. So like 2 weeks later, I quit the station and moved to Los Angeles. And I didn't have a job.
Right.
In fact, I applied for unemployment. So when I got to LA, I was on DC unemployment.
Yikes.
And you want me to continue on how I got the beat?
Yeah, no. So you're on unemployment. So take me from there. You're on unemployment. You want to do voiceover, and then what happens?
Well, then my voiceover coach, Maurice, said, there's a radio station very much like WKYS here in Los Angeles called The Beat. He goes, maybe it's something for you to listen to because that's what you're used to. So I tuned in. And they had a show called Night Beat, Lisa Canning. All I heard was Whitney Houston, Luther Vandross, no deep cuts. It was just that everyday stuff. So I listened, and then they played, this is funny, they played Always and Forever by Heatwave.
Right.
And it cut off. I go, what the heck happened there? This is Junior making voice, by the way, in the background.
Right.
So I called the station the next day. I keep in mind, I'm just a listener.
Right.
And they put Liz Kiley on the phone. She was operations manager. I said, I was listening to your station last night, and I heard a short version of Heatwave, Always and Forever. I never knew there was a short version. Oh, she said, we've been looking for the long version for the longest time. Keep in mind, back then, you didn't have all the internet stuff and, you didn't have other places to
Right.
go. So I said, I have it. I bring it to you. And lo and behold, I didn't have a car, but it was walking distance on Yucca Street in Hollywood. And I was living on North Detroit Street, so I walked over. I brought them the CD. A few days later, Marilyn, the receptionist, rest in heaven, Marilyn, she was the sweetest. She said, your CD is ready to pick up. So I walk over to the beat, and they gave me the CD. And Marilyn said, hey, Liz Kylie would like to speak to you. She came out of her office and said, I just want to thank you. Nobody's ever brought us a song before that we needed, ever. I said, well, so whatever you need, I got it, probably. She goes, what's your last name? I said, James. She goes, not the same Kevin James that worked in Washington, D.C. I said, actually, that is me. And she says, are you looking for work?
No
Keep
kidding.
in mind, the biggest radio markets in the United States is New York and Los Angeles.
Right.
But what did I say to her? No,
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding you. So I go home to my apartment and I said to myself, I think I was just offered a job in Los Angeles. And I turned it down. So I waited a couple of days, so not to sound too anxious. I called back. I said, I might have been a little hasty in my response. So she said, can you come over and meet Mike Stratford, who was the program director at the time? And I brought him a little demo and everything. He goes, well, what are you looking for? I said, I don't know. I said, I've always done a Sunday night. That's what we're looking for. Bingo. I had Sunday nights on the beat. It was that simple. Me as a listener, and then finding out I was a DJ, I ended up on the beat. And that became Saturday and Sunday. And once again, why I started calling my show, I know I call it The Love Affair because I had a syndicated radio show called The Love Affair. And once again, I have no idea why I switched up from the name Slow Jam. Makes no sense to me.
Right.
I need to talk to myself about that. Why I did. Anyway, that's just part of the history. So that's how I ended up on the beat. And then that's how I got the name Slow Jam, going back to WKYS. And bingo, I'm on the air in Los Angeles. So they didn't understand me.
The beat, you say the beat, they. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the audience understood.
Right.
But Mike Stratford and the GM, this guy, he goes, what are you playing? You're playing DC music, East Coast music. I said, I'm just playing music. I don't think there's a differentiation between East Coast and West Coast music. These are just songs. Well, they weren't happy, but ratings went through the roof. And then they finally said, okay, just do what you do. But my biggest supporter in the beginning, and I was only there a couple of days, I don't know if you know the name Roger Clayton.
No, I don't know Roger Clayton.
Roger, Rodger, Clayton. And he had a thing in the music industry in LA with concerts, etc. Uncle Jam's Army. He called me like the first few days I was on the radio, and he goes, dude, who are you? I said, my name's Kevin James. He goes, you're playing music that we haven't heard in LA in years. Some of it we've never heard. He said, so anyway, he and I became friends. And that was like a validation. You know, I was doing something right. But when your ratings are good, at some point, what can they say to you, right? If you're number one, I was very naive. I didn't know what the competition was. There's another little sidebar, so to speak. They call me in, they go, you're playing music for an African American audience. And then they broke it down. They said, Los Angeles is over 50% Spanish speaking. And I think they said 14% African American, and the rest, whatever. So that was some food for thought. So what I did is I did my own research. Stations do in-depth research, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, just to create information.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go to as many Spanish speaking cities I could to, and to the record store specifically. I would stand there going through the CDs and albums for hours. But I was on a mission. I was a spy.
Right, trying to get it there.
I wanted to see what the customers were buying. And they were buying Cameo, Function, Gap Band, you name it. I go, oh my God, that 14% they're talking about, I can add 50%. I'm reaching 64%.
Right, yeah, the numbers all added up.
Yeah, and once again, I don't know what they call it, but they do research and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I went to Santa Ana, Norwalk Records in Norwalk. I went to those areas where they had a predominant Spanish-speaking customers. So that's
right.
Part of my research. And then that validated to me, like, oh, this is the right thing to do. And so that was the beginnings of my days on the beat. And I would fill in for, go ahead.
Who would you fill in for?
Lisa Canning on Night Beat.
Right.
So I'd be the fill in for, but I'd do my weekend shows. And I came on with, after Sway and Tech, they had a show called Digging in the Crates. So a lot of really talented people came through the beat.
The beat, I mean, just an incredible experience. And you programmed all your music, which was insane, just because, most radio stations, they program the music for you. What were some of your most memorable experiences at the beat, with it being such an iconic station, and your experience with just artists? Obviously you have that relationship with Snoop, but what are some of your experiences at the beat that really take you back?
Mostly listener related. I just got received so well that I came out with a CD collection called Slow Jams, the Timeless Collection. Then I started doing appearances at record stores. That got me out in the community. Always went to DJ Records on Vermont and Imperial. I went all over LA, Warehouse Records back in those days. And
yeah, I remember that.
I did in-store appearances, and it got to know the audience outside the microphone, and then the more people would tell me, I'd be like, wow. And that series did really well, when those platinum, whatever, the series sold through the roof. So one of the people I found out later that listened to me on the beat and the Slow Jams, the Timeless Collection series, was Snoop. Let's get into the Snoop thing.
Okay.
How did I meet Snoop Dogg?
Yes. How'd that happen?
Mark Lawrence from DC, he and his sister used to call me every weekend at WQIS. Always wanted to hear Chapter 8, I Just Want to Be Your Girl. I always played it for him. Then Martin comes down to LA, starts doing the Martin Show. And we got in touch, and I would go to the tapings of the Martin Show. So one of the shows, they had like a little, it was around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have on stage a little finger food, those Christmas parties.
Right.
I want real food. I don't want a little,
That little cheese and all that.
it might have been really good food. But anyway, I look off the stage because they had the little get together on the stage. I see a guy, like a silhouette of a guy, just sitting in a director's chair way off the premises, so to speak. I said, and people know me, I don't like anybody to be excluded for any reason. But I went over there and this guy was just chilling. And the closer I got, I realized it was Snoop Dogg. I had just seen him the night before on the Arsenio Hall show.
Wow.
So I went up to him and I said, Snoop, I know you're just chilling. I wanted to say hi. He goes, do I know you? I said, you don't. He goes, oh, I know you. I know your voice. You're Kevin Slow Jammin' James. That's how all that started. And then he goes, you got some stuff I need. I said, what do you need? He goes, Lenny Williams, because I love you. Named all these songs. I said, no problem. We exchanged phone numbers. And next day I called him. I went home that night and I made you know what a DAT is? Digital audio tape.
Yeah. I remember the DAT.
I did a digital audio tape with all kinds of music that I thought he would like, Payback as a Dog and Stylistics, but the ones he asked for too. I called him the next day. I said, I got in this case, your DAT for you. I said, where do you want me to come bring it to you? He goes, well, can I bring it to the station or can I come to the station? I said, Snoop, I just met you, but I don't want you to think I'm trading off anything. I'm not asking you to do something for me because I'm doing a very small gesture for you. No, I'll bring it anywhere you want. He goes, I've never been to the beat.
No.
I said, okay, let's set it up for tonight and then make sure it's okay. So I went to the beat. Keith Nathalie was the program director.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's okay if I bring Snoop Dogg in here. And you should have seen the look on his face like, the Snoop Dogg? I said, well, I think there's only one that I know of. I said, yes. How? I said, I know him now. So I told Snoop, I said, yeah, it's okay, but keep in mind, they're going to bug you. They're going to ask you to go on the radio. They're going to ask you to do drops. They're going to ask you to do stuff. And I just want you to know that because that was not my plan. My plan was to bring you the music because you're my new friend. So anyway, he comes to the beat. And sure enough, they put him on the radio with Lisa Cannon. And all of a sudden, at the back door, Suge Knight. The guard wouldn't let him in, and he broke down the gate of the beat.
Suge broke it down?
No, Suge Knight did.
Oh, wow.
Because he heard Snoop on the radio, and he, wanted to be part of everything, It was Suge Knight. So he comes in there, and eventually Snoop and Suge go into a studio and close the door, and I heard some very loud talk. They were arguing. What have I done? What did I do to this man? Snoop comes out and I go, hey Snoop, I heard very loud talk in there. Are you okay? He goes, don't worry about it. It's a show. So anyway, another interesting thing, he was doing drops in the studio.
Right.
For all the DJs. And he got to me and he started going, I said, no. So what do you mean, no? I said, I play slow jams. I don't play rap music. Can you soften it up? He goes, look at you trying to be a director. He goes, I like it.
Taking charge.
So then he did the drops perfectly, for my show back then, which once again, I have no idea why I call it the love affair. But anyway, so
and at that point, he put you on albums and your relationship just flourished. And
Oh, yeah. It's funny when I go places, sometimes people recognize my voice either from the radio or W Balls.
W balls.
Yeah. So I go back to the original Death Row days. Can-Am Studios in Tarzana, California was rented out maybe for a year or more by Suge Knight. And he called it Death Row Records. But it was really Can-Am Studios. And one night, Snoop calls me on his time. Usually it's 4 a.m. Calls me. I was living in Hollywood. And he says, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm just cleaning my house." He goes, "Really?" I said, "No, I'm sleeping like any normal person." He said, "Do you have the song, Do You Get Enough Love by the Jones Girls?" Or, Shirley Jones. I said, "Yeah." "Can you bring it over to Tarzana, Can-Am, Death Row Records?" I took it over there. That was real beginning days. That was my introduction to Death Row Records. And I ended up there many, many times. That's when I would record. We didn't record the Dog Pound drop for it, Smooth. We did that in the studio. I can't remember what studio it was, somewhere in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there, smoke, dogs, people, loud music.
Right.
I'd never been in a studio for recording before. I went, "Oh, this is something." All of a sudden, Snoop says, "Hey, KJ, can you drop on the end of the song, go up to the microphone and say something?" I go, "What song?" He said, "The one that's playing. It's called Smooth." I said, "What do you want me to say?" So each time I asked a question, he got more and more irritated. He finally said, "Just get up there and say something." I go, "Okay." So I went up to the mic. It wasn't a little booth. It was just a big mic stand in there. And "What do you want me to say?" He goes, "You're a DJ, say something." Well, it kind of scared me. And I go, "Oh, God. Kevin Slow Jam and James from 92.3 The Beat. Man, this shit sounds smooth. Give me an application. I'm switching up. I want to work for W Balls." He goes, "Okay." I said, "Okay, what?" He goes, "That's it." And lo and behold, a couple months later when the album came out, I'm on there. So that's my first drop. Then I'm on a whole bunch of them with, Corrupt and Baz and the Snoop albums. I can't remember all the
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too, because I listen to all these different streaming services and hear your voice. I'm in the gym and I'm like, okay, there's Kevin, saying, timeless hip hop records, and it's dope. You're about to say something.
Oh, I'm gonna do a microphone break. Hold on.
Okay.
Snoop Dogg's Cadillac Music Dance Radio. It's Kevin. I'll be back. Okay, I'm busy.
And yeah, no, that's dope, and it's so dope to kind of see you still doing your thing, and Cadillac Music. Like, how did that start with the relationship with Snoop, and how did it build?
I was in San Diego working for Matching 92.5, and my dog was driving me crazy. Good boy. That's it. Say hello. Say hello.
He heard all the dog talk. He thought we were talking about him. He was like, I need to be in the part of this conversation.
Yeah. Oh, he knows I'm talking to somebody. He wants to know. Anyway, where do we leave off?
You left off that you're working at a station in San Diego.
And the funny thing is, in San Diego, I worked for a guy, and I'm not going to mention him, but he's turned out to be a real jerk. But nobody there knew about my history of Snoop, all the drops I did, my introduction to my embracement into rap and hip hop. Kind of to this day, I wonder, like, why did they take advantage of that? But I never mentioned it. It's not like, hey, I did this, I did that. I never said anything. Anyway, one day I get a call from, I think something from Facebook, from Michelle S. I can't say her last name because I can't pronounce it.
Right.
So. And she said, Snoop wants to talk to you. I said, really? So I think we did it through Facebook, whatever. Anyway, we exchanged numbers. And I call him and he starts saying, okay, Dash Radio, Cadillac Music, yada, yada, yada. I go, I have no clue what you're saying. I don't know what a Dash Radio is. I don't know what Cadillac Music is. He says, it's my radio station. And I'd like to get you on there, but can you send me like a demo? So I sent a CD, a couple hours of music for him to play on his show, which actually got played from Dash Radio. Then he called me and goes, let's do this. I said, okay. The funny thing is, I quit my job at Magic 92.5. I made a reasonable salary, not great. And I moved to LA. My program director said, well, how much are they paying you? I go, I don't know. How can you take a job and not know what you're getting paid? I go,
right.
I said, it's Snoop Dogg. It's okay.
He's going to take care of me.
So I moved to LA. Then I find out, like a lot of DJs at that time, it was volunteer.
Yikes.
And I got a place in Santa Monica, and I was paying pretty expensive rent because it's Santa Monica.
Yeah, Santa Monica is like $2 million a minute.
And I didn't know what to do. Finally, I knew that the next month I couldn't pay my rent. So I said something to Snoop. I said, hey, go get a treat. I've got a problem. I mean, like 5 minutes later, his manager at the time, Kevin, called me and said, we're putting you on the payroll. So Snoop started paying me. And eventually, Snoop went to Dash and they said, you need to pay this man. So now I get paid by Dash. Not an exorbitant amount, but I get by.
That's dope, and that's a solid move by Snoop. And you being a legend, you deserve it. And do you feel that you get the props that you deserve in as far as the culture of R&B and slow jams and do you feel you get the credit that you deserve for your mark in music?
From listeners, absolutely. People that you do it for, they understand. People in the industry, I don't know. I probably don't care. Of course, Snoop cares. We have a great relationship, but I don't know industry-wide if I'm widely accepted or whatever. But that doesn't bother me. You are or you are. It's not like I'm gonna have to make you like me. Then also, I come from a different perspective.
Right.
So sometimes, nothing's ever been racial with me. In DC, which is, a very mixed population, I never had a comment ever. Hey, dude, you're white. And, oh, really? Let me go check that out. Okay.
That was the thing. It never came. I remember you came to Santa Monica College. This was obviously years ago. And I brought you to talk to the kids at this outside patio thing. It was like 100 students. And we were introduced, I think it was dance on the Julio. And then you jump on the microphone, and you're like, it's Kevin Slow Jam. And everybody's like, what? That's Kevin. But it was all love, and it was dope because everybody just loved what you did. It didn't make a difference. It was just that, and you were like you said, you were always out and about. And when people heard your voice, it just like they were like, yo, he's white. At the same time, he's dope and we like what he's doing, and it made sense to everybody. And you always had that energy, and you always put yourself out there to make, like when I asked you, I was new to the station. You were like, yo, whatever you need, I got you. And I think that's a big part of why people got so much love for you as a person, because you're, just not the music, but Kevin, the person, is just amazing.
What you give is what you receive. And people understand that. So I have no hidden agenda. I'm just me, I'm just a guy that happens to be fortunate enough to be on the radio, a DJ, But it's all about respect. And when you give respect, you get respect. And maybe I've had some problems industry-wide being accepted, that I don't care.
Right. And then what's your relationship with everybody at the Beat? Do you still talk to like John London's and all the rest of the jocks at the station?
Haven't talked to them, Dennis Cruz or John London. Diana, from time to time, she came to visit me here in the house. I think Kevin Nash, who worked at the Beat, he and I stay in touch. He works now for KJLH.
Right.
I talk to Julio G every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at the compound where I work, I'm doing the show from my house tonight. And because when I got COVID real bad, I had to do my show from the house. And so I've been doing it mostly from the house. But when I'm there, it's an amazing environment, the compound. That's where everybody comes through,
Right.
And I want to go back, if I may.
Absolutely.
Death Row Records. I do all kinds of recordings. Some of them I forget that I'm on because there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I would walk out, to my right was this big studio, a huge control board, as big as this kitchen. And there would be a guy behind it, and I'd look in there and I go, oh, hold on, my dog's acting up. It was Dr. Dre. I said, hey, come on in. Every time I said the same thing. I don't want to bother you. You're working. But it was funny, that same routine every time. I should have gone in there because that would have been quite an education, right? But I didn't want to bother him. So I got doing an R&B thing. I became embraced by the rap and hip hop community, more so than if there isn't such a thing as an R&B community.
That's so ironic.
Let me see if I need to do a microphone break.
Okay.
Let's do something here. Okay, I'll wait. So there's so many stories, and I'm glossing over certain things. You ask any question you want.
No, I want to hear a lot of those stories, though. Those are the biggest things. Like, what are your most memorable moments in the business that you just like that we wouldn't know, and that you have in your spirit doing radio?
I used to do a club thing at Peppers in the City of Industry years ago, and they had a slow jam room. And I played my slow jams. So this one time I'm playing the Gap Band, No Hiding Place. A guy walks up and says, you mind if I grab your microphone and sing along? I said, nobody's ever asked me that before. I said, sure, go ahead. Gave him the microphone. He started singing. He finished. I went, oh my God, you sound just like Charlie Wilson. He goes, I am Charlie Wilson.
That's insane.
Yeah. And then appearances with Slow Jams, the Timeless Collection, Football Records in Pasadena. And one of the brothers Johnson came over. There were just so many stories, but I was fortunate, not fortunate because I made myself go out in the community. I go out with the street team every once in a while on their van hits.
Right.
Because that was my thing in DC. I wanted to be a voice off the radio and on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I made myself go to DC. Was easy because I had a softball team. And we were a pretty well known softball team. We went 27-0 one year. So we played games all over DC. And then that was another way to meet the audience, you know. But they tried to beat up on us. They wanted to be the team to beat us so they could get their name on the radio.
Mm.
We didn't let that happen.
No, can't have that.
27-0. Hold on, let me make sure. Okay, I'm going to turn around. And you see? Oh,
yeah, I can see the screen.
Oh, by the way, I use a program called Megasig. It's all my music.
Oh, so that's the whole. That's the whole. That's all the music.
Yep. This is the library, and then songs I'm going to play are on the right side. And now I'll say something.
I'm going to see Kevin do his break live.
This.
And you must have done so many. I mean, you're on your millionth break of just doing radio. Do you ever miss like terrestrial radio, or what do you think the state of radio is right now?
To be honest with you, I don't listen to radio, so I don't know. But radio has always been programmed. I think you might be maybe alluded to the fact there's a playlist. Radio stations go by a playlist, pre-programmed. You can make a request, but they're not going to play it. So I always tell people on the radio, unlike other radio stations, we take requests, but the difference is we play them. And once again, way back when a computer found its way into radio stations' studios, that's when radio changed. That way, music directors, program directors, consultants could program the music, and you had to play everything as was listed on the computer in that order. I was governed by that for a while when I was in San Diego. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I quit because I've always done my own thing. But I don't know if there are many people, DJs, doing their own thing unless it's, internet radio. They're independent.
No, not at all. It's everything is programmed. That's why you hear the same 5 songs. And for you, like, did you have a relationship? Because you and Art LeBeau, I think it seems like he kind of plays his own stuff. Did you have a relationship with Art LeBeau at all?
Yeah, but not a good one.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Here's what happened. When Mike came out with Slow Jams, the Timeless Collection, he had an issue with a couple of songs that I played that were on his collection, and he called the president of Right Stuff Records, Tom Cartwright, and complained. I'm like, hey, dude, you don't own those songs, And then I met him at some concerts. He was emceeing. To me, he wasn't the nicest person to meet. That might not be him, but you can only go by what you know, what you see, and your experience. And it wasn't that pleasant. Now, when Snoop started Cadillac Music, guess who was on every night at midnight? Art LeBeau.
No.
Well, it got to the point where it was the same show every night.
Right.
It just repeated the same show. So eventually Snoop got rid of that show.
And do you think there was a jealousy there with Art LeBeau and with what you were doing?
I can't say that.
Okay.
Maybe I can't speak for anybody else. I wasn't jealous of him. He's an institution. He's a legend, especially on the West Coast.
Mhm.
You know, everybody. There's a little bug flying around here that's driving me crazy. He's bugging me. And, you know, I had to learn. He's like an acquired taste, right? And then I see why he does very well, because the dedications, this and that. But I had no jealousy from me. You know, sometimes people would compare us, but the music really is a lot different. His flow and a lot of the low rider stuff he plays. Not that I don't, but it's a different vibe. It's a different show, but to the untrained ear, it might seem like the same.
It's definitely two different energies, obviously. Like for what you do, it definitely serves as just like, I would say it's more soulful. The energy is more soulful for what you're doing. Who are some of like your favorite artists that you listen to and that you broke in radio that kind of owe their career to Kevin Slow Jammin' James?
Well, the classic example, I was playing a song on the radio at WKYS. The phones just lit up. So finally, Donnie Simpson calls me and says, "You're playing something. I don't know what it is, but they're calling me every morning for this song. What is it?" I said, "It's As We Lay by Shirley Murdock." It was not getting any airplay. It was released. It was nothing. Well, Donnie started playing it. So what became just a lost song turned out to be a mega hit. It's it's a legendary song, Shirley Murdock, "As We Lay."
Yeah.
Others songs are actually people. Butch Cassidy. You know Butch Cassidy
Mm-hmm.
of the East Siders?
Yeah.
A guy calls me one day. He goes, "I do security for Snoop. There's this guy, and he's not really a rapper. He's more like an R&B guy. Would you listen to his music?" I said, "Sure. I don't turn anybody away." Sent me a CD. Guy calls me. His name was Danny Butch Means. He said, "Can I come over and talk to you about my music?" I said, "Yeah." I was living on the boardwalk of Venice Beach. Came over, and he had a cane. I go, "Are you okay?" He goes, "It's my pimp cane." "Oh, okay." And I told him I liked this song called "You Tonight." I said, "Really?" He wasn't Butch Cassidy. He was Danny Butch Means.
Mm.
Turns out he's Nate Dogg's cousin. And I said, "I'm going to play it this weekend." So I played it right towards the end of my show, 10 minutes to 5 a.m. at the beat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? The hotline rings at 5 minutes to 5. He goes, this guy says, it's Snoop Dogg, says, "What did you just play?" I said, "Danny Butch Means You Tonight." He goes, "Is that Nate's cousin?" I go, "I believe so." He says, "I need to talk to that man." So that was Saturday night, Sunday morning. I get up to watch football on Sunday morning, which I always do. Starts this weekend. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
And I called Butch. I said, "Hey, Snoop wants to talk to you." He says, I can't call him. I don't have a number." I said, "Calm down. Here's his number." So he calls Snoop on that Sunday. 3 days later, Danny Butch Means is in the studio, becomes part of the East Siders. Happened that fast. From
Wow.
that song, by the way, "You Tonight," was never released.
But
but
you playing it made the creation of the East Siders, which is that's crazy.
Yeah. Might have been a month or two later, Snoop decided it's not going to be Danny Butch Means. We're we're going to name you Butch Cassidy. So the name Butch Cassidy came out. So I guess you could say I created Butch Cassidy. Great guy.
And big shouts out to the East Side. Are you on any of those tracks on their album? Did they put you on, or do they openly give you credit for that?
I don't think I'm on it. No, I didn't ask for credit, but
okay.
Nah, I got credit, on the Dog Pound, the track Smooth and Corrupt, The Streets Are Our Mother. I've done so many, I can't remember. The Dog Father.
Yeah. What was your relationship with Nate Dogg?
Nate Dogg, to this day, my favorite recording artist is Nate Dogg. And he performed at the Summer Jam for the Beat. But I met him several times in the studio. And interesting thing, I've never shared my music library with anybody. But I had back then, a written list, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff on computer. And I printed out my list, and the only person ever to get my music library was Nate Dogg. I took it to his trailer when I was at the Summer Jam. I was like, hey, here you go, Nate. And then I'm on it. I think, how many tracks am I on? On Nate Dogg's album. Dirty Hose Draws, I'm on that one.
Right.
I have to check, you think I would know. And, I wasn't smart enough back then to get affiliated with ASCAP and BMI. So, I never got any royalties, but I didn't do it for that. I did it because, of my relationship with Snoop, or in this case, Nate Dogg.
And that's huge. It's just because and because Nate Dogg was Nate Dogg and you gave him access to that catalog, did your relationship build because of that? Did Nate start trying to really do more things with you after that? Or did he notice how big that was for you? Did you let him know that he was the first one?
I don't know all the dynamics behind everything, how much he listened to what I have. I remember he got in touch with me about some songs or whatever. I hooked him up with them, and he still samples some things that are pretty rare that I play, but I can't say for a fact, oh, that's where he got it.
Mm-hmm.
He's a genius.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And for you, in terms of what's for Kevin Slow Jam and James, what would you say is your top 3 R&B slow jams for you?
Well, I'm a big Confunction fan.
Okay.
So Make It Last, All Up to You, all the Confunction songs, Cameo, Enchantment. I got to get a fly swatter because it's like a little net, like a little fruit fly knows that I'm doing something and she's trying to bother me.
You never know. Yeah.
There's another story I wanted to tell. What was this song? When I talk about As We Lay.
Yeah.
I found that in a trash can. I went into the music library. Greg Diggs was the music director, and his trash can was full of trash and had 3 records in there. I said, what you got in there? He goes, it's called trash, Kevin. I said, can I have some of your trash? So I took the 3 records home. 2 of them were bad. And one was really good. Played it for my friend. She said she liked it. I go, I'm going to start playing it. So it came from the trash can on the radio. That was As We Lay by Shirley Murdock. It's an all-time classic.
And so at that point, what station are you on when you're playing As We Lay from the trash can?
WKYS in Washington, D.C.
And so at that point, you're playing the song. And so what's the response? And how does it get to this mega hit? Is it just getting more requests, or What's going on? How did that happen?
Because Donnie called me, he said people were bugging him every morning to play this particular song, which I mentioned before. And that song happened to be As We Lay. So the record company wasn't even promoting it anymore. But Donnie started playing it, and WKOS was a juggernaut. And anything that Donnie played got recognition. So they re-released it.
And who would have known? Who would have known? And so like you basically made As We Lay a hit. Are you taking credit for that, Kevin? Please say yes.
Yeah, in fact, when I came to LA, the name of the club was called Proud Bird. And I got to MC a little show. The show was Zap, Roger and Zap. But the world act was Shirley Murdock. You know, Shirley Murdock is on Slow and Easy and all that. That's part of the Zap group, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came off stage. I said, Shirley, I'm Kevin James. She looked at me and I went, she says, it's you. I said, yeah, it's Kevin James. She said, no, it's you. You're the one that found my song. I said, yes. She just slumped in my arms and hugged me, you know. But isn't it funny how something can come out of a trash can?
And you know, like a rose out of like really like that's the bit. And Shirley Murdock has to owe so much to you. And shout out to the triple OG, the Proud Bird. A lot of things happen at the Proud Bird. If you're from LA, the Proud Bird, that's where all the triple OGs go. And so at that moment, it must mean so much for you. Like if there's a documentary, I mean, is there any documentary that was made that kind of shows that moment with Shirley Murdock and the trash can and you making that pop off?
No, that was even before CDs came out when I started playing it. So you really didn't have the proliferation of the internet. No, that's never been documented.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know, at least any with the camera and
that's something that should definitely happen. Are there any more like memorable, would you say, moments that we like? I never knew. These are all amazing stories. Who else did you discover, Kevin? Let me just put it that way. Whose career did you make happen? Don't be shy. Or did you help, assist, lay up?
There's a lot. And my mind is going blank right now. But there's a lot, you know. The thing was, you know, back in the day when you had vinyl, I would get all these records. And I didn't want to look at the album cover because I did not want to judge a book by its cover, or in this case, a record by its cover. So I'd turn it over or whatever, or hide what I could see, and I would play the record. And I would play music based on that. Then I would look at the album and I go like, oh, you know, sometimes I didn't know if it was a male or a female group, whatever. But that's how I chose music, based on, it should be like the same with people. You know, if we all just had blindfolds on and talked to people and learned about them, then take off the blindfold, it wouldn't matter what color or gender or whatever. So kind of the same thing I did with music. It made no difference if they're a known group, unknown, whatever. If it's good, I'm going to play it.
Absolutely. And for you, since you did have that autonomy to play whoever you wanted, is there anybody that you remember that was just an absolutely like a nobody, and they were like, yo, here's a CD or a vinyl, and then they became a megastar? Was there any artists for you at that point?
Let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
There are so many that maybe were on the cusp of making it, and then, you know, maybe my airplay helped. I don't know. By the way, on a side note, you know, when I do interviews, I always wear a cap.
Why is that?
Well, Because I'll tell you why. So people wonder, like, well, does he have hair? Maybe he's bald. So I'll reveal. You ready?
Yeah, let's do the ultimate real drum roll.
This is not going to be pretty.
Okay, wait. Oh, Kevin, he got the hair. See, I was gonna do it like a game show. Does Kevin have hair? And you have a lot of hair.
A lot, and it's wild and it's bushy. But this this came after COVID. You know, I had COVID really bad.
Yeah, and blessings to you for just being here. So important. What was what happened with COVID for you?
Well, I had it as bad as you can get it without dying. I had 3 hours to live. I was on that respirator.
Oh my God.
And eventually they said, you'll be on oxygen, whatever. Somehow I came out of that, but I had 3 hours to live. I was in a hospital 5 months. 3 months. And another 2 months in a hospital bed in my living room. 5 months in a hospital bed.
Oh
Didn't look like I'd be able to walk again. You know, I had all kinds of associated problems. But lo and behold, here I am.
You're here. Here you are.
The hair is a weird thing. Maybe 3 months ago, I went in, my hair was straight and kind of thin.
Mm-hmm.
That's COVID, right? I went in to take a shower. I swear to you, I came out looking like I'm right now. With a
That's God.
Full head of bushy hair. So I did research, you know, a Google search.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what's supposed to happen. I called the manufacturer of the shampoo I use. It's a 10. I go like, that has nothing to do with it. That's how I ended up with all this hair. Just
No
the
kidding.
what's supposed to happen.
That's so amazing. I mean, the hair, you look great, you sound amazing, and you wouldn't think that you've been in the hospital, you had those moments. What got you through that? Do you remember that time? Because it's just like you're at it's so, like looking at you now and knowing that a few months ago you were on your deathbed, so to speak. I mean, emotionally, what got you through that to such a strong space right now?
Really, Juanita Salazar. That's who my wife was at the hospital every day. We weren't married then. The hospital every day, and she was the one there when they said he's not going to make it through the night. They were going to pull the plug. And she said, "Don't do that. Do what you can to keep me here." Then I went through a long stint through a California rehabilitation center. It was long and arduous. Home in a hospital bed in the other room, and all the symptoms went away. It's like a miracle. So there is a God. People's prayers, I know, had not just everything to do with it. It was just put out there in the universe. Kevin, get well.
Yeah, we were all praying, and it's just amazing that you're here. And you're so, I mean, it's like you never were sick. Like it really, it's God, and it's so amazing. And shout out to your wife, your queen. How did you guys meet? And what's that story?
Oh, Juanita.
Yeah, Juanita, your angel, Juanita.
Oh, Juanita. Oh, actually, she was a listener to me at the station in San Diego. And then we met, I think, one time at a concert, with a bunch of people. But eventually we just stayed in touch. And then she came to visit. She never left. But she's the angel. Absolutely.
Yeah. And for you, what set her apart? Because I was a radio personality for a little bit, and so when you do meet you meet a lot of women. Kevin was probably a player back in his day. So what set Juanita apart from everybody else, the attention that you're getting from other women? Why was it Juanita?
The true caring without any agenda. You know, it was just a real person, a real woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to find.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's such a, like, you can tell like there's such a bond there, and she's the reason why you're here, and that's why we love you so much. And for you, what do you see is like what's next for Kevin? You got this second chance at life, so to speak. What's your thought process now?
well, I have an app out there called Slow Jam
Mm-hmm.
on Google and iTunes. It's a free download. Nice commercial, huh?
Yes, indeed. Plug it. Go ahead, plug it away.
So it's Slow Jam, 2 words, you know, iTunes Store and Google Play Store. So when I'm not on the radio on Dash, Snoop Dogg's Can't Like Music, I'm on the rest of the day. Well, it's 24 hours, the app. And it's same stuff. In fact, you can see the computers behind me. Can you see the computers at the top?
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay. This computer, and I was told, by the way, that you could not broadcast to 2 places at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I proved them wrong.
So go ahead.
Right, that's the app playing. Over here, on the left, is Cadillac Music. You can see there. So I'm broadcasting to both at the same time. So outside of the hours of Cadillac Music, I'm on the app.
So you're essentially, we can find you 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
With music.
And that takes time too to load the music in, because there's a thought process on how I play the music.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, if people have an app, they normally use MP3s because they're smaller files. I don't. I use lossless encoder through iTunes. Everything I play is CD quality.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, every song I play plays to the end. If there's a final note, you will hear it. And that kind of separates what I do from other people too, because radio is usually slam bam, right? You don't want to dip down the volume. As soon as it starts to dip down, hit the next song.
Right.
That's not how I do it. I'm not a DJ. I'm not a mixer. I'm a blender.
Right.
Blend the music.
And that makes a huge difference, because with slow jams, it's very, you need the whole body of work to the last note for it to really sound, and you really embodying the experience of where people are at. You know, most people are in romantic spaces. I saw something on Facebook, and it was Martin, and that's Martin Lawrence, and I saw him. He was just vibing and loving the music, and he was like Kevin, and that's really on the other end, as us as fans. It's just like, yo, that's how we're feeling the music.
Yeah, I know the video you're talking about, because Snoop put that up there.
Okay.
Martin is the reason I met Snoop and why I'm doing all this. So the beginning of this trail is Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. And have you talked to Martin recently?
No, but I'm going to call him tomorrow.
Please do.
Yeah.
No, please do. Please do. It makes a huge difference. And I think that, yeah, you need to be celebrated. And I think it's so important that you're here. And for you, do you listen to like current R&B? Diddy recently said R&B is dead. Do you listen to a lot of like the newer stuff as far as like R&B and the vibe of it right now?
Not that I really hear it, because I'm not listening to radio stations. But, you know, there are things that I play that are current.
Okay.
So to speak, you know, Anderson .Paak and, you know, people like that, you know, but not many, not many. You know, maybe I should listen to radio. Maybe I'm missing out on something, but you know, with the internet, people post things, you know, whether it's IG or Facebook, and I might hear something. I go like, well, that's kind of cool.
Right.
And I'll put it on there.
And if like a newer artist like a Bruno Mars or somebody asks you to be the same way Snoop asked you to be on a project, would you be open to doing that?
Oh, I'm very open to that. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
never turn anybody down. If somebody wants help, they want to, back in the day, they wanted to visit the studio, they could. And by the way, I own the name Slow Jam, the trademark. And for those of you watching and listening, the name Slow Jam, stop it coming after you. And I have one egregious individual who will remain anonymous.
Mhm.
But he's abusing it. And when I tidy up my trademark registration number, then I'm going after those that legally use it, because that's my it's my baby. It's, you know,
Yeah.
my invention. And if you don't protect your trademark, you could lose it. So,
Right. And Slow Jam is yours. And to let everybody know out there, Slow Jams, that's your baby. That's your baby.
exactly.
And that's
In the beginning days, WKYS first had the trademark Slow Jam. Interesting. I was living in DC. I went to the trademark office in Northern Virginia. I wanted to get my trademark. I knew nothing about how to get a trademark. And I told them what I wanted. They go, oh, somebody already has it. And they took me to this drawer and it showed who applied for it. It was WKYS. In that drawer was a t-shirt that I had designed for me, Kevin Slow Jam and James, and then recordings. So that's how WKYS got the trademark, you know, through me.
no kidding.
So they had the recordings of me on WKYS, my t-shirt. So you had to show them enough for them to get the trademark. Eventually, after 10 years, the trademark lapsed and I grabbed it.
Congratulations.
I've had it ever since.
And yeah, and the thing is, we say Slow Jams, but we don't know most people don't know the history of it, and that's why it's so important, because everybody says it like, oh yeah, I want to go to the spot so we can hear some Slow Jams, or I'm chilling out with my lady, want to play some Slow Jams. It's a part of, you know, the vernacular of just chilling and just everybody doing their thing, and I think that's just amazing. What would you say to somebody that wanted to follow in your footsteps? Obviously, you're not doing terrestrial radio, whatever this medium is now, because we're in this space of just podcasting and radio and people just talking and getting their voice out there. And you've done a great job of doing that, and that's why you're a legend. If somebody was watching this and say, hey, I want to follow in your footsteps, what would you tell them?
Oh, don't name it the same thing.
Don't mess with my trademark, goddammit.
Slow Jam, but follow your dreams. You know, today there's much more opportunity than there was back then. By the way, speaking of the vernacular of the name Slow Jam, before Slow Jam, songs were not called slow jams. They were ballads, whatever people would call it, slow songs. But nobody ever used the name Slow Jam until Midnight Star Slow Jam, and then the creation of the format. So if you go back, maybe before I was in radio, didn't name things slow jams because it didn't exist.
Right.
So it was ballad, easy listening song, whatever they call it.
And then what was the difference between like the Quiet Storm? How did that originate? That seems to be a big thing also.
I pay umbrage to the Quiet Storm because that was the competitor. Well, that was the institution of that type of music in DC. That started the original Quiet Storm, WHUR, Howard University.
Mm.
And Melvin Lindsay, Kathy Hughes is one of the big radio owners, came up with the name Quiet Storm.
No kidding.
Yes. She handpicked Melvin Lindsay to be the first DJ to do the Quiet Storm. And that's where I bit off. But his music was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I still wanted to make it my own. And that's why when I take requests, I answer every phone call. I've never missed a phone call in my life at a radio station, unless I was in the restaurant. I answered every call. People told me what they liked. I didn't have it. I went and got it. Then Melvin had a little different twist to it. He liked a lot of the divas, more of the female artists. And, I played, it didn't matter to me, male, female, black, white, makes no difference at all.
Mm-hmm.
So our shows were fundamentally different. So when I started, are you familiar with the ratings, numbers?
Yeah, the PPM and the ratings and the numbers and all that nonsense. Yeah.
Back then it was Arbitron. So Melvin had like a 12.5, 13s, 14s, ridiculous numbers. That's like 14% of all people in DC were listening to The Quiet Storm. I started with a 1.5. So after about 6 months, I became a 5. His 14 became a 9. Well, within a year, I overtook The Quiet Storm with my slow jam. And that became the number one show of its type in Washington, D.C.
Crazy.
And once again, I owe it all to the people calling in, the listeners. They tell me what they like. And who's your favorite artist? Old school.
Old school, I would say it'd be like a Charlie Wilson. I like, who do I like? Old school. I've been listening to a lot of Frankie Beverly and Maze. Honestly, I've been listening to a lot of Frankie Beverly, like some funk. I like a lot of the funk stuff. The Gap Band, because a lot of that stuff still hits at the club. So even if they do like a hip hop set, they'll go like Gap Band, Montel Jordan, Trap It Out. So it's just like a lot of the music from the old school is still very relevant. And even when it comes to R&B, they're sampling a lot of slow jams and they're putting them into a lot of the new music. So so I've just been listening to, I would say, a lot of the funk stuff and the slow jams, like the Isley Brothers. I think is super dope. Chilling. I love me some Isley Brothers. So yeah, and I'm a big 90s R&B person too. So SWVs, the TLCs, the 702s, that type of stuff.
Funny thing is, I called the 90s the windies.
Why is that?
Because like Boys to Men and they go, and that it's called melisma, when you runs, right?
Right.
Not that I disliked it. Some of it I did not like it because it was so repetitive. But that's when that started.
And that's the thing. When you were at the beat, it was a lot of 90s R&B, like the Brandys, the Monicas, the 112s, the Totals, the John B's. And so I'm sure that they all loved you and wanted to, I'm sure you had some level of relationship, especially out here in LA at the beat, it was half and half hip hop and R&B. So did a lot of those artists try to reach out to you?
No.
Really?
Really, but once again, you didn't have the proliferation of the internet and ways to stay in touch, I mean, they could call on the phone or whatever, I would have El DeBarge call me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And DJ Quick used to call me a lot.
That was Quick was very much a big part of the beat. What was your relationship? Because I know he used to do a lot of drops with Theo. What was your relationship with Quick?
Well, Quick, I used to, because of Theo, we'd go over to his place, his apartment he had back in the day in the Valley. So I saw him on numerous occasions, but his main relationship was Theo in doing those tremendous drops.
Classics.
Exactly. But I'm trying to stay in touch. I'm trying to get in touch with Quick because it's been a long time.
Yeah, big shouts out to Quick. You guys definitely need to connect. So your homework is to get in contact with Quick and Martin and ASAP.
Okay. Yeah. Quick, I don't know how to get a hold of. I'm going to try through IG or whatever. I'll do my best. But he's a genius with music. I remember going to his place one time. He was so excited. He had a Switch CD, and it was a special master, reproduced master of it. He goes, listen to this. Wow. Yeah. And almost every rapper I've ever met is huge on R&B.
Yeah, it's married together, because it's just like you do hip hop, and it's a vibe, and I love R&B. I think even the stuff now is dope, the old school stuff. I think the biggest thing that's really cool about today's time is just that a lot of the music is being played all at the same time. So like if you go to a party, like a day party out here in LA, they're playing 70s, 80s, 90s, and currents. And so they'll start it off. And so the music is still hitting with the demos from 20 to 50. Like it's crazy right now. So, and it's a lot of it is because the mixers have more material to mix. And that's a very cool thing. And I think that's a part of what you did, was really bring that to the forefront of the old school and making the old school music relevant.
Yeah. And once again, the samples, which are sometimes, I have a guy I work with, Slim, Chris Stewart, C Slim Casino on IG, C Slim Casino. But anyway, he'd bring to my attention, because he sits in with me, and he goes, that was sampled. I go, what? So I'm playing something. He goes, oh yeah. So I learn a lot from him, what has been sampled with various rappers.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a vibe. And man, Kevin, you've contributed so much, man. I just want to thank you so much for just making time to educate me about the game, and your contributions of just being a legend, and what you meant to radio, what you meant to Los Angeles, and then just what you meant to just individuals and people that just you made their careers, you made their life, and your recovery is so inspirational too, and your queen, and just everything, man. Just kudos to you. I just definitely want to give you your flowers. Thank you so much.
Thank you for thinking of me and giving me this opportunity to tell my stories. Now, where can people find this?
It's going to be a B.Woods on the Mic podcast on all streaming platforms, YouTube, everywhere. So
yes, shoot it out to me so I can link it up.
Absolutely.
Might as well plug my things. Instagram.
Yeah, go ahead and plug your thing.
Instagram, Slow Jam James. Facebook, Kevin James. Email, slowjamjames@me.com.
There we go. And Cadillac Music and Slow Jam's apps, everything.
Yeah. So the app is Dash Radio, and they have like 90 stations. So I wanted to give my props to Dash Radio, because ultimately that's who pays me. That's my employer. Oh, yeah. But now Dash Radio, you don't have Snoop Dogg's Cadillac Music. And we don't have my show. So anyway, props to Dash Radio. And if you're into different kind of music, they have like 90 different stations. Anything you want to listen to, any genre, they've got it. Dash Radio app.
Shout out to Dash Radio.
Music.
Snoop Dogg, shout out to Snoop, and shout out to you. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much. And we definitely got to follow up and you know your homework. Make sure you get your flowers from all your friends. That's your homework.
Okay, I'm calling Martin tomorrow. I can reach him. Quick, I'll get a hold of him. I'll get a hold of Dr. Dre. I'll do my homework.
Do your homework.
Okay.
All right, Kev. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you later.
Okay.